Yo, what up, y'all? My name is Nick White, and this is the very first episode of the Dead Man's Mic, a Halloween Horror Night podcast. Any and all things Halloween Horror Nights. And me and my boy Craig, we are here and we have talked and conversed about putting together something really cool, something really different, something different and out of ordinary of what we normally do. And we are here to bring this new flavor to the Halloween Horror Night community, man. Really excited about this. Craig, how you feeling, man?
Oh man, I'm feeling psyched. I'm feeling good. It's such a good feeling to finally do this and to, just explore and expand on, you know, one of my favorite events of well, actually my favorite events of the year. So, because I've been following
Definitely.
HHN for a while. And
Yep.
my first event was in 2021, right after the pandemic. I actually was supposed to go in 2020 before the pandemic, but you know that happened. But 2021 was my first event. I had a blast, and to finally do it was a dream come true, honestly. So I'm ready to. Ever since then we've been going. So I'm ready to speculate over what's gonna happen, what's gonna go on this year, because last year was a banger and they got a lot to top.
Yeah, dude. I would, you know, when thinking about this event, you pointed out something that was really important, and that's something that I think we should go into real quick would be how exactly did we find this event and what about it pulled us into the point where we are obsessed with it? We love this event. We will not miss a year of this event. What pulled you in, Craig? How did you find that event?
So I would say, I found the first time that I found out about Halloween Horror Nights was like around 2007, and um, that was around the time when that was like Jack's a big event. Like that's when he was an icon, and they had Jason, Freddy, and Leatherface. And I remember just like because I was already like a big Universal fan.
Right.
Because the first time I went with my sister, my mom, and my auntie and her son, my cousin. So I was already big on Universal, and then I found out about HHN. I was just looking around on YouTube. I just found out about HHN. I saw a video of the 2007 event, clicked on it. The introductory, the opening ceremonies with Jack and Freddie, Jason and Leatherface. I was like, oh yeah, this is. And I loved horror back then when I was a little kid. When I was a kid, so um, ever since then, I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with look like up until like recently when I was able to go myself, and when we was able to go, I just was looking forward to looking at every single video of houses, opening ceremonies, the shows, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, all the
Yeah,
food,
the
the
thing.
drinks, the merch, every single thing that had to do with HHN. And so that's just what jump started my fandom for HHN.
See, and that's really cool. I think you and I really have similar stories. For me, I had always loved Universal, Disney World, like the Orlando circuit. We'll call it the Orlando circuit. I always loved that, but I had no idea what HHN was until probably around like 2006, 2007 as a kid. And what I noticed was is that here, because for those of you who may not know, we are from St. Louis. We are an HHN podcast based in St. Louis, and kind of what our main goal is with this podcast is to bring people together all across the country to talk about HHN, just like the other HHN podcasts, obviously. but we really want to tap into the Midwestern community because there are a lot of Universal HHN heads out there that live in our area that are just as much into the event as we are. The biggest thing that I noticed was that Fright Fest at Six Flags St. Louis, I fell in love with that event, and that's kind of what started my fandom. The connection there is the fact that I didn't know that there were other events that existed like Fright Fest or events that were better than Fright Fest, like i.e. Halloween Horror Nights. I really thought that Fright Fest was his own thing. So I eventually found Halloween Horror Nights on YouTube. And I remember being a kid and just looking at it on YouTube and just being like, dude, this event is so much better than Fright Fest, but it is so far away. And I don't know how I will ever be able to attend this event. Like Six Flags is in our backyard, but Universal is a flight or a drive, a road trip. Same with Hollywood, a flight. We're in the Midwest. But man, I swear that I never thought that I would be able to attend that event. And I think that's what really made my fandom build for it, was that desire to want to go. And then you finally go and you get a taste of it. And you like, man, I don't think I can ever miss this event again. And I really feel like that's what pulled me in. But just the little things, man, like the opening ceremonies, all the actors running at the crowd. I remember the first opening ceremony I saw was probably Horror Nights 2011, and it was Hollywood, and the crowd and the actors running at each other, and just that being that unhinged intensity, and they just let it happen. Like that was something that really pulled me in. I was like, Fright Fest is not doing it like this. Like, what's the difference? And then you end up getting into the houses and seeing how detailed everything is and everything like that. That stuff is insane, man. Like it really pulled me in and it let me know there are really amazing events out there like Fright Fest, but events that I'm sorry are a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely um, can attest to that because I I love Fright Fest at Six Flags St. Louis. And any
Yeah,
Six Flags for that matter, but it's just something about HHN, and this started way back in the '90s. This is basically like a year. This is a yearly thing. This is a cultural phenomenon. People come from literally all over the world to descend on Orlando, um, to descend on Hollywood. Not necessarily Hollywood because that's mostly locals, but you know, people descend to descend on Orlando just to come vibe and to just be around, you know, what's happening and to be around the biggest, literally coined the biggest Halloween event in the world. There's like literally nothing like it, and there's a reason why you know um, many people come year after year. They normally have you know the um, the top IPs and um, the best original the best original concept houses out there, and for for them to for the creative team and just the HHN team in general to just like um, to flip the script on us every year and to just go outside the box, because every year not a lot of the ideas get picked. That just goes to show you the creative the type of creative capability and mind um, that Universal Creative and John Murray himself had, who was the founder of HHN has, because
yeah, true
they
pioneer,
come
man.
they come up with so many ideas every single year, and it never ceases to amaze me. And anybody for that matter. So it that just to for all the ideas that they have chosen to not give, and they only have to do like a select few, just goes to show you the creative depth that they have.
Absolutely. And I feel like One thing that truly sets Halloween Horror Nights apart from these other events are the houses. I mean, we have to be very straightforward and honest about this. The level of detail, the sound selection, the lighting, the actors, the timing, everything about these houses are just setting them apart from these different events. And so going into that topic of the conversation, I would like to talk about your most loved HHN houses. It could be one house, it could be three, it could be five. Shit, who knows? Or not or and your least favorite HHN houses, because you can't have the good without the bad. You know, Craig, I'll let you go first, man. What you got?
That's very true. There is a good for every good few houses. There are some bad ones. Can't even lie. Um, so I have a few um, good houses. I'd say um, HHN icons from 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Um, there's Freddy versus Jason that happened in 2007. Came back in like 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Um, there's Legends Collide that was 2022. Um, there is Dead Man's Pier, which was 2022. There was uh, The Weekend After Hours Nightmare, so goated. That was 2023. Um, there's last year in Hollywood, Nightmare Trilogy in Hollywood. You know, one of the best houses that I've ever been into. You got Insidious from last year. I prefer the Orlando version. You know, for some reason Hollywood wasn't hitting for me. For Orlando, oh man, that triple scare at the end. Oh man, I still think about that to this day.
Oh yeah.
What else? There is the. Let me see. Um, there is. I already said Legends Collide. The underrated one I say like from last year is A Quiet Place because I love those movies and to just step into that environment
Absolutely.
was indeed crazy. And the fact that they pulled off that puppetry like that, well done, Universal, well done.
Dude.
But now for my worst houses, I already know I'm gonna say Goblin's Feast because I just did
Woo!
not like it. I did not like Goblin's Feast. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I don't know how.
Bruh.
You know,
Oh my God.
we are in that HHN Facebook group, and everybody in there keeps giving us shit about us ranking Goblin's Feast at the bottom of the totem pole because I just don't know. I've experienced better comedy houses than that. Like, um,
It
let me
was
think.
not good.
Major Sweets was better than Goblin's Feast. Was way better than Goblin's Feast, and that was technically a comedy house. Um,
It was, yeah.
so um, that's honestly like a bad house because um, I mean I would Spirit of the Covenant is not bad, but it's not like up there. It's not like
It's not up there.
good. It was
Yeah.
just like it seems like that was just put together, and it wasn't really like it's just like there was nothing really different, quote unquote, different about it. You know, like it's
Yeah.
it's a typical witches coven, witches cult, whatever. We've seen that story before. Like what's new, But that's what I would say. What about you?
I so you named a lot of houses that definitely have caught my eye, and some of those are absolute, my favorites. For one, I want to talk about Dead Man's Pier for a second,
For sure.
because this podcast is themed in tribute toward that haunted house. If you look at our logo, if you know real HHN lore, then you will be able to tell that our logo is a direct tribute to that house. And the reason that we did it was because it is by far one of the best houses that Halloween Horror Nights Orlando has ever put on. They were so deep in a bag when they did this haunted house. Like the amount of detail, the entire atmosphere that you were engulfed in when you walked in there, it legit made me cry when I walked in there the first time. It did. It was incredible. And one thing that HHN is really good about, like we said, are atmospheres. I feel like that house and Triplets of Terror from this past year
Oh yeah.
both had an insane atmosphere when you walked in. But to walk in and you were up, this northeast kind of waterside town, man, with the lighthouse and the lady playing the violin, but it's storming and it's mist. You can feel the rain, the wind. It's cold in there. They just hit it on all cylinders to the point where it is a house that we will remember for a very long time. So that's why this podcast is kind of named, in tribute to them and true HHN lore. So some of my favorite houses would be definitely Dead Man's Pier. That one is definitely at the top. One that I wish I would have been able to go through, but I did not go to the event that year, was La Llorona at HHN Hollywood. In terms of intensity and the true horror aspect behind, what HHN is really good with their houses, La Llorona just kind of brought it every single time. And it's not one of those houses that I would prefer to see in Orlando. I feel that Hollywood is in their bag with that one, and that it needs to stay out there. It seems to work out there. Um, the Weekend, man. After Hours Nightmare and Nightmare Trilogy, two of the best haunted houses I've been in by far. And I'm not just talking about HHN. I'm talking about Horror Nights, Fright Fest, independent haunted houses. It does not matter. Both of those haunted houses were amazing, and they were definitely Nightmare Trilogy. I was very excited for when they announced it. After Hours Nightmare, I was talking big shit. I was like, this is going to be terrible. I don't understand why we're doing this. This is not the route that we need to be going, with these houses and things like that. And then, bro, I went through and I came out on the other end and I was like, no, I take back every single comment I made. This was one of the best haunted houses I've ever been through. It made sense. It followed the album. It made me go back and listen to the album all the way through so that I could learn what they were trying to portray to me, within the haunted house. It was amazing. Another one will be Monsters, Universal Monsters Unmasked with what was that? Phantom of the Opera was in there, I think, and
Yeah.
the Invisible Man.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde,
Yeah,
Mr.
dude,
Invisible Man.
that house was sick. I really enjoyed that house. It was very fun, and they definitely got me toward the end. Exorcist Believer was really good.
Oh yeah.
Just a few more to mention. Graveyard Games, Poltergeist from 2018. Um, Scarecrow the Reaping is definitely on that list.
Love
And
Scarecrow.
I'm so glad that they are going to go ahead and launch that for Horror Unleashed out in Vegas, because that house absolutely deserves it. Texas Chainsaw from this past year was amazing.
Yes,
Holidays
I
in
forgot
Hell
about
was
that one.
amazing. I mean the list could truly go on for a long time. Remember the Alice Cooper house
Oh
from,
yeah.
what was that? Was that, I feel like that was Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood,
I feel
because
like that was Hollywood.
Hollywood, they get more of the collaborations with like Slash and Alice Cooper and Sting and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that was one of those where, like, when I think about Horror Nights, it's one of those when I look it up and I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what that's about. Um, there definitely more, and I feel like my mind is just kind of going crazy. But in terms of houses that I did not prefer, because like you said, we can't have the good without the bad. Goblin's Feast, man. Craig, if y'all know, if any of you guys watched us on Toxic Icon, which is my other podcast platform, uh, I was very in support of Goblin's Feast. I was 110% Goblin's Feast all day. This is the house that I am most excited for, and it disappointed me. I hate to say it, but it did. The detail was phenomenal. The house looked amazing, but I just didn't. And I'm a hunt actor myself, so I don't want to sit here and shit on any actors because it's not that. I just think that it was more of it was just kind of more of a fun kind of just like circus type of thing. I'm not exactly sure how I want to, the wording I want to use for it, but it just, it didn't pull me. That was one of those. Spirits of the Coven was definitely another one of those for me that I just, like you said, not bad, but it felt thrown together very quickly, and I couldn't really grab a hold of what they were trying to portray, even after going through it a couple of times. It was just kind of one of those where I remember it, but it just wasn't, one of the best houses for me. So those would really be my two. I feel like I really just love detail with HHN houses. So it's really hard for me to go through a HHN house and to come out on the other end and be like, man, that was not it. I'm not one of those people. And shout out to Ghostbusters from this past year because the detail in that house alone, insane.
Amazing.
Insane.
It really was amazing. The I love how true to detail they are. Um, and that just goes for any of the IPs that Universal decides to do every year. Especially with in 2023 with Stranger Things 4. Man, like that I literally stepped in, it's like I literally stepped through my screen and into that show on Netflix. Like, you know, like there's a reason why these IPs be having the longest lines in the entire during the entire event, especially with
Yep.
Stranger Things, because Stranger Things has such a huge following. Like there were years where Universal would do like uh houses based off every season. Um, same thing with The Walking Dead, because that was such a cultural phenomenon. Um, in 2023, when they did The Last of Us, that house was great. It
Yep.
was a really great house, um, and especially from this year. Well, not this year, last year. Insidious Into the Further. Oh man, like
Let's talk about that house for a
and
second,
I'm
though.
and I'm such a big Insidious fan. So the fact that I was actually getting to get the fact that we were actually getting Insidious house last year, I was stoked. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't care how the house is. I'm glad I'm getting Insidious because that's my movie. But
Yeah.
but
And
when
let
we went,
me
go ahead.
and let me just say, dude, when it comes to Insidious, going through that house in Hollywood and Orlando, there was an intensity in both houses, right? There was an intensity that HHN delivered on both coasts. But the vibe and the intensity factor was so incredibly different in both of those houses. Like the one in Hollywood felt claustrophobic,
Yeah.
but the one in Orlando felt very vast. It felt like everything around you is so much bigger than you that if you were really trapped in this, there is no way out of this.
And I think what made the difference, what you, me and Yurdi was talking about. Um, we were talking about um, how Orlando, pretty much all of their IPs are in sound stages. They utilize sound stages for them, and
Right.
not necessarily like sprung tents. Because all the original, not to say that the originals don't deserve a soundstage, don't get me wrong, but you know
Right.
the IPs has the most budget in them because they work with the studios for the distribution and for the rights to use the films or TV shows or whatever have you, and so they need as much real estate and usage as they can. So um, the fact that Orlando they use a soundstage while Hollywood uses sprung tent made so much of a difference because in Orlando, like you said, it's like they like HHN does all the time. They literally drop you into those environments. Uh, like the facade was literally walking through the red door and you know looking at all the moments from all of the Insidious movies and all the demons and ghosts and stuff coming at you and I was literally going by scene to scene. I was like, oh my god, I seen this, I seen this, I seen that, and to see it play out right in front of me was insane. And
Yeah.
but you know when Hollywood did it, it was like a shift because it was like, okay, what's really going on here? Because I get what they're trying to do, but it's like it just didn't hit the same, and it's like they was trying to do. It's like they was
The
trying to. It
bathroom
was
smell like shit.
they man, and they was trying so hard. They were. It's almost like they were trying so hard to perfect it. It's like a franchise like that. It's like you have to put it in a soundstage. Like there's like the environment and the feel of it. It was like, yeah, nah, this ain't it. And then I don't know what it is, but the scare actors just wasn't scare acting in that house. I mean they
No. And you
shoot
got to drive that house.
man
You
the
got to drive that.
and Texas Chainsaw they brought it. Them scare actors they brought it because there was this there was these
You already
Asian
know what
friends
I'm
that was in
thinking
front of
about.
us. Man, they dropped uh fell on the floor because they were so scared. Man, they was because they was grabbing at them and everything. I almost tripped over them because I didn't even see them drop on the ground.
I
But
thought you got scared
nah,
because
that was them.
I was at the end. I was at the end of the line, and then I saw you go into the front, into the first facade. I saw you go into the house, and then the line stopped, and I was like, "Damn, they probably dropped Craig. Like, what happened? They got Craig." No, it was that group in front of you, all three of them on the floor.
Literally.
I'm
And
like, "What actor is around the corner?"
right, but I don't know whether they had an off night or something at Insidious in Hollywood, but it just was not it for me. And
You know, something else I noticed about Hollywood, just kind of talking, we just kind of chopping up HHN right now. It's like, I don't think that we ever caught one cast change while we
I
were
don't
down
think so. I don't think
in
so.
Hollywood. I don't think we did. In Orlando, we definitely caught a bunch of cast changes because there was just such a high volume of people, moving throughout that event. But I definitely don't remember catching a cast change in Hollywood, which I think that's interesting. Like, are they cast changing or do they have like an A squad and a B squad where like on Friday night the A squad will go, but Saturday night is the B squad, or just kind of like that, and you all just go through the night. Like, I don't know.
You know what? I think that's what played in the factor because Orlando has so many fresh bodies to like rotate in and rotate out and just keep going.
Right.
It's like scares feel fresh, and it's not
Yeah.
like uh, sluggish or anything. But in Hollywood, I just don't know I just don't know what it was. It's like
They just
you know,
run it differently. I think it's just, I think they both parks have their own philosophy on how they want to run the event. Obviously, crowd control is a giant factor, regardless of which park you're at, and that plays a big part. And speaking of these parks, we really got to hop into this spec. Um,
All right.
Craig, if you can see it, are you able to see it there?
Yeah.
All right. This is, I want to say this is Orlando. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Orlando. So let's talk about this. So we are looking at the Horror Night Nightmares most updated spec map. This would be the one that they dropped on Easter. So at the time we are recording this, this is a week old. Yeah, I'd say this is a week old now. Um, Craig, what do you think about this? Is there anything that you've read about? I know you're pretty good on Twitter reading and everything. What what are some things you can kind of tell the audience about what's going on this spec map?
So um, what I know about Orlando and Hollywood alike, but since we're starting with Orlando, what I know is that everything is pretty much vague. You know, there's take everything and anything with a grain of salt, of course.
Right.
But what I have noticed is the same themes. Five Nights at Freddy's. Um,
Which icon would you say would be Five Nights? The camera?
yeah. So okay, so let's start it back. Um, the running theme with this year is pretty much the obvious ones: Five Nights at Freddy's, the camera icon, been discussed since last year. The trash cans, Poltergeist, Arthur Clown, he carries trash cans around. Um,
Mhm.
you have um, the the thumbs up icon, which is Fallout. That's what was speculated,
It's being heavily speculated. So
heavily speculated. The um, the book with the snowflakes, I believe that could be an original, like a Christmas original, maybe. Not sure. Um, you know, Again, take it with a grain of salt.
right,
Um,
it's all speculation. It's all subject to change.
what else I've been hearing is that's been making the rounds is Poltergeist and
Yo, that poltergeist rumor really kicked up within the last week, and it is still
yeah,
circulating pretty strong, I feel.
yeah. So you honestly really never know because it can change on a dime and then it can pick up so much speed.
Right.
You'll be like, hey, it's basically official till they announce it. But um, what else? The other thing that's making the rounds is the the horrors of the WWE. Wyatt Six, maybe an Undertaker house. Who knows? Um, I just know that
So
there's
I
something.
would like to know, Craig, um, since you're talking about WWE, and I know that you are really big into WWE, what would be your thought on that being a property that becomes a house for HHN Orlando this year? And to further that question, are there any concerns that you would have about that? Do you think there's enough, um, weight there for them to pull that off? Do they need to dig and create original lore? Like, what do you think about that?
I think that I mean, it's been done before. Uh, Undertaker had an HHN house in 2001 in Hollywood, so
Okay.
and that went overly well, and so in terms of uh, excuse me. In terms of the the horrors of the WWE house, I'm not necessarily thinking that they're going to have any problems. It's just that how are you going to broaden that horizon and expose people that don't watch WWE into get with the lore of the story that they're telling, and the WWE are great storytellers. So I don't think in the least that there's going to be an issue with telling a story or broadening the scope of whatever house that they're doing. So I really think that whatever they do, it's gonna eventually end up being one of the underrated houses of the year.
Okay. I was definitely wondering. I feel like that rumor, even though it is still being, pretty heavily speculated, has been met with plenty of mixed reviews. So I was just kind of wondering what you were thinking about that. And while we're talking about Orlando, I do want to talk about these different scare zone areas for a second here.
Yeah.
And kind of talk about what we thought about this past year's scare zone. So I know if you're walking into the park and you are going to the right toward, what's that, DreamWorks, um, you are going to go through Duality of Fear, which was Sinister and Surreal's scare zone. I had a couple of walks through this scare zone. I didn't think it was bad. I truly loved the atmosphere that it created. However, for Sinister and Surreal as just characters of the event, I do feel like they need a little bit more weight behind their story. I do feel like there wasn't enough there. I know that they were connected to the different scare zones in some sort of way and that they did walk the park, but I don't know if it was something about the opening ceremonies or what, but I just felt like their story needed just a little bit more. Definitely good, but just a little bit more. Now, the Blumhouse scare zone blew it out the water for me. I absolutely loved that scare zone. I really have no complaints. I thought it was great. Um, I also love Swamp of the Undead. I know a lot of people didn't really care for it, and I thought it was a hit. But after listening to some different podcasts and things like that, and talking to people, a lot of people definitely feel that it could have been better, or that they felt that it was just kind of rushed and thrown together. For me, I thought it was amazing. Maybe because I just love like Southern Louisiana culture, very big on like Bayou culture and things like that. It portrayed that history perfectly for me, just like the Universal Mardi Gras tribute store. Like I really thought that it played that up well. And then the torture fair. The torture fair was fucking awesome. The torture fair was hilarious, like it was comical yet intense, and some of the things that they were really reenacting are things that are really happening during those medieval times. And I saw a lot of people go to that scare zone and come out very disoriented and confused. So I feel that they pulled that off perfectly.
Yeah, they did. The Torture Fair loved it. And that was the spot of the 2023 with um the Vamp 85, or I think it was
What was
Vamp
that, Vamp
75.
69?
Well, Vamp 69. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that gave me the same vibes, literally. Um, when I tell you I love Torture Fair, like if that was a house, that would be now that how you do a comedy house, dead ass. Like that's that's it.
Yeah.
And when you was talking about this, the the surreal and what was the other one?
Duality of Fear and Blumhouse.
Yeah, Duality of Fear. They could do. better with the two icons this year. They could have done better, like with the, give more backstory of what was going on, and because when Oddfellow was the icon, excuse me, for 2023, everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew the background. Everybody knew the story because that was like more broadened because that's in connection with Jack, and so that's a bigger story in of itself. So everybody knew the lore, and the Blumhouse scare zone, that had to be like my favorite scare zone because it last year everybody was talking about Blumhouse maybe having a house, maybe not. It's almost like they was it's almost like they was trying to get in the double dutch rope jump and trying to go back and forth. Should I get in? Should I get out? Scare zone house, scare zone house, scare zone house. And it was like literally going back and forth up until it got announced as a scare zone.
You
So,
know, I agree. I agree. I feel like, but see, here's the thing though. Blumhouse really strikes me as they are very good for both. Like they're very good for houses, but they're also really good for scare zones. And the reason I say that they are also really good for scare zones is because man, they murdered the Terror Tram last year at Hollywood. They destroyed the Terror Tram last year. It was perfect. It was the best Terror Tram that I've been on in the years that I've been in Hollywood. Like Blumhouse is really good for those zones, those atmospheres, because they have characters that could really put you in that immersive atmosphere. But it would be cool to see some more Blumhouse actual houses. I know a lot of people were speculating Megan, but I just personally feel that after having the Megan Horde and then having her in the scare zone plus the terror tram, I think that window for her to have a true house all by herself is gone. Will she show up in another house in a future date with other Blumhouse characters? Sure, it could even be this fall. She's popular, but I'm just not sure about her having her own house.
I mean, hey, she could very well have her own house because she is popular. She's one of the more popular Blumhouse properties, and they are coming out with Megan 2.0 soon. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean that's
I'm telling
definitely
you
true.
that she was literally took social media by storm. So
Yeah, no, she did, and like we'll just have to see what happens. I know I have the Orlando map up here, but let's take a look at the Hollywood map real quick. Let's
uh,
kind of talk about that real fast. Um, what are you seeing here, Craig? Anything speaking to you about this one? I definitely see a couple of icons that are going to serve as dual IPs by Coastal.
so you know, same thing. That I see. I see uh the camera, the thumbs up, the bags, Terrifier, Fallout, Five Nights at Freddy's DIPs. Um and the I think that's a um oh, that's a coffin in like, the rain. Okay, so that must be the horrors of WWE. Okay. Um so now the scarecrow hat. This
Mm,
scarecrow hat is
that's
is
raising some
quite
eyebrows.
expensive. It's raising a lot of eyebrows. So hey, if it's a Scarecrow the Reaping sequel house, I'm with it. I'm
Hey,
Or if you just bring the regular Scarecrow the Reaping back. Listen, that's gonna kick it up a notch. I'm telling you, because the intensity of Scarecrow the Reaping is unmatched. It is
but
literally
also that Scarecrow the Reaping is one of those houses that there was no like. And now I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't think that that was one of those houses that had a true storyline to it. So they really could just run it back.
right. It's not like there's like a continuous story to tell. It's just like, scarecrows, invading homes and, taking
Right.
over. That's it.
Nah, dude, that the scarecrow hat is what caught my mind. Now, the circus tent, though.
That could be anything. That could be
People,
what? Go
well,
ahead.
people have been speculating killer clowns from outer space to return, but this time for them to be the Terror Tram. People have definitely been talking about that, and I've seen a couple of Hollywood creators have talked about that. And I will say this: I know that Killer Clowns is one of those that people are tired of seeing, especially at Hollywood. But you can't sit here and say that they don't do that shit right every single time it's there.
It brings the people out. People love Killer Clowns from Outer
It
Space.
it brings the
They
people out. The detail is there. The merch is fire.
right. They love the campiness of the movies, so
Right.
can't go
It's
wrong.
definitely there. So
Um, I say the other thing that's kind of like piquing my interest is this unknown.
I
You know,
yes, that is piquing my interest too. And that is definitely in the upper lot. That's what that looks like.
yeah. So that very well, could be anything. Um, I don't necessarily know what could go with this, like, the skull light bulb looking icon, or the doll. Who knows what those could be? I don't
Yeah, it looks
necessarily.
like a dome.
Maybe the
Well, I think I have. I think I got it. Well, not. I think I got it, but I have a lead on that. A few months ago, and I think we talked about this in the group chat. Was that the dolls that were located outside the front facade to Monsters of Latin America 2? They are speculating that HHN Hollywood will be doing a part 3 to Monsters of Latin America, but it will be circulated around the lore of those dolls that were hanging in that tree out front.
mm,
So
interesting.
I do think that that rumor is definitely upholding. If by looking at the map, that is definitely, it's not where Monsters was located last year or the year before last, because Monsters is in the exact same spot. But that could definitely be something.
Because let me see. Um, let me see. Yeah, it's literally where Monstros was. The
Right.
same spot, literally the same
Yeah.
spot.
So
So
is yeah, that is the upper lot right there. Yeah, okay.
could very well be that.
It very well could. And honestly, I'm here for it. They have not missed a single beat with the Monstro story. I think it's really cool that Universal Original is really picking up, these stories and like doing well with the crowd, and the crowd is really into it. I'm all about it, and I think they should continue to do it. And speaking of, Universal monsters and originals and things like that, will the opening of Epic Universe play a part into how much representation of the Universal monsters that we will see at HHN 34 this year? What do you think?
So we'll run that question
Um,
back.
I was saying, with the opening of Epic Universe, specifically Dark Universe, do you think that that is going to have an effect on how much representation of the Universal monsters that we will see at HHN 34 this year?
Well, there was a rumor going around that uh, um, because it was because Dark Universe was opening, and it had a lot to do with the Universal monsters. Is that um, the yearly Universal Monsters House was gonna be on a little sabbatical, take a year off, which is interesting. Now, although that would kind of be like a little downer for me, because I love the Universal Monsters houses and how uh, Universal HHN really pushed them to the forefront, and to remind people, hey, we were the one that we're the studio that created the monsters.
Right.
Um, but but if that does transpire, and Universal Monsters does indeed take a year off or two, then that opens the door for one of the new, or creative ideas that they have conjured and locked away. They can bring that into the fold, and have it realized. So
Yeah. I definitely think it will not necessarily halt things, but definitely pivot the way that, they move. But those monsters are so iconic that they absolutely deserve their own world year round, and they've got it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It just means that HHN will have to be even more creative. And so we're gonna go ahead and start winding down to wrap this thing up. And I want to close out, on a couple of things here. Let's just briefly talk about Nightmare Fuel real fast. I kind of want your thoughts on Nightmare Fuel this past year, and what you would be excited to see this upcoming year. I have a couple of things, and they're real quick, but I just truly enjoyed Nightmare Fuel. It was so immersive, and the playlist was rocking, and they had the crowd into it. They never lost the crowd, not once. Even the workers, before the performers came out on stage, had the crowd in the palm of their hands. Like, it was just a vibe. It is now something that I will never miss at HHN. I will be completely honest. It was my first Nightmare Fuel. The shows have never been something that I've ventured into, but now I have been humbled, and I see why I was always told that I was missing out. So I'm definitely excited to see it. I just want that same intensity from it, and I can't wait to go see it again.
yeah, Nightmare Fuel. Ever since it took over, uh, ever since Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure ran its course, unfortunately, and when Nightmare Fuel came into the forefront, everybody was optimistic, but at the same time they were worried because they were not sure if Nightmare Fuel could actually live up to be the successor to Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. But you know, of course, as Universal does, they exceed expectations and then some with every single year of Nightmare Fuel, especially last year in particular. Uh, it was like circus theme, which was great. Of how a guy was trying to save one of the performers from dying, and how they incorporated different um, circus aspects to it. It was great. Like you said, the music was rocking as always. Um, the the dancers, the choreography, the acts of the feats of athleticism, and the different um, fire dancers and whatever have you. Like, it's truly a sight to behold, because I'm like, wow, how can like these people are like brave to do these different acrobats and fire stunts, and stunts in general, um like 4 or 5 times a night. Like, it's insane. And um and they literally have to do it like an hour or so apart from each other. So you got to do all that, and then you got to do like 4 or 5 shows back to back to back like that. Like, that's so insane to me. But um, and I had the privilege of unknowingly sitting by one of the performers' parents one year. I think it was 2023. I sat right by them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really dope. And uh, their dad was telling me about how uh, they came up through the ranks, and how it was like such a blessing in disguise for them because they had like out of every how out of everybody Universal could have picked, they picked them, and it's such a like a life changing opportunity for them, and how like and it's crazy to hear like how humble they are, how humble the people are because you honestly never know when your time could come. But um getting back to Nightmare Fuel as a whole, it's great.
Yep.
They really bring the energy, and I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how they do that every single night for like 4 or 5 straight shows a night. It's truly a it's truly a sight to see. If you come to HHN and you get a chance, do Nightmare Fuel. If you don't go to the if you don't go to the first if you I mean if you don't go to the first show, go to the last show. If you don't go to the last show, go to the first show. They're both shows, both the first and the last shows are the most packed. But if you do, get in there because they're the most lively and packed shows. So I mean
Yep.
every show is packed, but the first and last shows are the most energy filled.
Definitely get there and take that in. Be a part of something so cool, man. Nightmare Fuel is dope, and those performers put in so much work to give everybody a show, and it is so worth going to see. And so we're gonna go ahead and close this thing out, man. If you're listening, thank you so much for being a part of the very first episode of the Dead Man's Mic podcast. Man, we have so much coming. This is the first episode, and it feels really good to do this, but we got a long way to go. And we want y'all to join and, be a part of the Dead Man's Mic family, man. We're going to have a great time talking about HHN. A lot of cool stuff on the way, as stated just a second ago. Be sure to follow us on all platforms. We are now on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We'll be on Facebook and Twitter very soon, YouTube as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Make sure you tap in with us. We'll be covering all spec, house announcements, show announcements, ticket announcements, everything, within the coming season, the rest of the season leading up to HHN 34. Shout out to all of the HHN podcasters out there. We love what you all are doing. You all are inspiring to us. You inspired us to hop on a mic and start doing this. Be sure to follow GhoulieCon, Kentucky's newest horror convention for content creators, by content creators. The link to that will be in the description as well. Tickets are on sale now. Be sure to follow Toxic Icon, follow Craig, follow me, follow our personals, tap in with us, and we will see y'all soon. This has been another episode of Dead Man's Mic, a Halloween Horror Night podcast, and we will see y'all soon.
Peace.